Hi there, I'm Roux. Welcome to my video. If you're an avid watcher of my videos, welcome back, subscriber-any. Now, this video is going to be very different than most of my videos. First of all, you can't see my face. And second of all, it's all about reading off of the internet. Specifically, Reddit. It is my guilty pleasure in life, Reddit. Not just reading it, but also watching videos where people read in funny voices and making it even more hilarious. My absolute favorite is Sorrow TV. He is a star, not just because he has a cute hamster, also because his videos are definitely the best. Like the best, reading off of Reddit that I've ever found, because he has the best voices. So I definitely recommend you to go check out that after watching this, of course. Please finish this first, but I'll link him below. He is the best. Today we're going to read off of ChoosingBeggars. What is ChoosingBeggars? It's basically a web forum on Reddit where people post stories about other people who are unreasonable, entitled, holes, who expect things for free and get very upset when they don't get it. So let's get started with the first story, titled, I guess I'm a hole for taking away my internet. Saw another post on here that reminded me of something that happened to me a couple of years ago. I live in a commercial building that has been converted to apartments. It's a pretty small space, 6 to 7 units total, not 100% sure about the rooms upstairs. The apartment is really nice, and the landlord doesn't charge what he could get away with. Because of this, he often ends up having to evict people that move in for 2 to 3 months and just quit paying rent. Anyways, that's beside the fact. When I move in, nobody really had internet in the building. One guy did on the end, but he was an MMO addict and had a hardwired internet only. I got internet with Wi-Fi within a week from moving in. Needless to say, almost immediately, neighbors started asking for the password. Some would offer to split the bill. I declined for several reasons. And others would beg to just use it for a day or two. It got really old real fast, but I never gave in. I'm proud of you, person who posted. One day, however, I noticed that the couple I lived next to were both on their phones. They had mentioned not having service another time, so I realized they must be on my internet. These same people had offered to pay me to use it before, but I declined because I knew I'd never see more than one payment. So I get on my phone, whilst sitting outside, and pull up the router and change the password. Quickly, I notice that they are frantic on their phones. One of them says, "Is something wrong with our internet?" I chime in that, no, I just changed the password on my internet, knowing damn well that they don't have internet. The guy started laughing because he knew he was busted, but it wasn't a huge deal, though I was annoyed. The woman was quite the opposite. She was like, "Well, I need the internet back, so you can tell me the password." I refused. Then all night she kept saying, like, "God, why are you being a jerk?" Or, "Can I just use it tonight?" The next day, a Saturday, she knocked on our door first thing in the morning. "I need to go on the internet because I need to call," her son, "school." "Oh, you can use my house phone for that if you'd like." "Well, I need to talk to her teacher on Facebook, so..." Over the next week, she kept coming up with bullshit, asking to use it for just tonight, or outright demanding the password. Jeez. One of the last things she said was, "I'm actually pissed off that you changed the password to my internet." I told her that I was pissed off that she was freeloading off of my internet after I refused her money to use it. Turns out they paid my stepson $5 to get the password for a minute and were on it for a few days before I realized. Now I don't even tell him the password, and if he wants to use it with a device, he can hand it to me so I can enter it. Anyway, my internet is not communal internet, and you don't deserve it just because you need it. This is hysterical. I mean, I feel like we've all done that thing where we're like, ooh, is there an available internet? And if you can get on it, you kind of do. Like, I feel I'm guilty of this. I've done it once or twice. But if you get confronted and people are like, no, you can't, or you already asked them and they said no, what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh my god, the entitlement. Oh my god. When it comes to choosy beggar stories, I actually have one of my own. I usually sell things on the internet, Facebook, and I feel like a lot of choosy beggar stories come from people selling things on Facebook. Because some people, like, I feel like most of the people who contact me who wants to buy stuff from me, because I sell things to be able to afford the things that I use in my videos, like equipment and things I try out for my videos. So I sell things on Facebook to afford that. But most of the people who contact me to buy my stuff are pretty normal, decent, you know, they're not entitled, they don't expect you to go above and beyond, you know, it's not like they're buying the world from you, you know, they're really nice. Some people, however, like, if you get the weird ones, it's always the really weird ones, like the really entitled ones. Like, for instance, like, they expect you to, like, almost wait on them hand and foot. They expect you to work your schedule around them, and they expect, like, it's some sort of, like, luxury treatment that they expect when they're just buying some small thing off of Facebook for not a lot of money. They expect the world in customer service, apparently. Like, this one time, I was going to sell a couple of shoes, and this person contacts me, and they're like, okay, let's meet at this place, and, you know, let's do the deal. So I walk my ass, and it was quite a long walk. I walk there. Do they show up? No, they do not. And I'm like, where are you? Are you coming soon? Of course, they don't respond to any of those messages until the day after, where they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't come. And I'm like, okay. I just have a policy of, like, you can tell me that you can't come, like, one specific day, and that's, of course, that's fine. But if you didn't tell me and I went to the destination to make the swap, to make the deal, and you didn't show up, and you didn't even have the courtesy to tell me that you weren't gonna come, and you tell me the day after, nah brah, I am not selling you those shoes. No. And I end up going, I am not selling you the shoes because you didn't show up in time, and it's just not gonna happen because you inconvenienced me. I'm going to sell it to someone else who is interested. And they're like, okay, let's meet this time in this place, and I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah, sure, let's meet here. And I'm like, no. But they kept saying it as if I had agreed. Like, they kept going, okay, sure, let's meet there then. And I'm like, no, 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 no. How is this person not hearing it? No. This is going on through text, by the way. So how are they not reading it, is more correctly. But yeah. And they're still not listening. They demand that I come and do this deal, and I'm like, no, no. And I'm being polite. Like, I'm being polite because I don't want my seller rating to be all up, because you have a seller rating on Facebook. People can rate you. And I want to be polite and professional, and they're just not hearing it. And after a long-ass conversation of going, I am not selling you these shoes, no, and them trying to, like, pretend like we're having a deal going on and going, yes, let's just meet there then, at this time, and I just continue going, no, it's not gonna happen. They go, oh, so you're not gonna sell me the shoes? And I'm like, yep, that is correct. That is, exactly. I am not selling you the shoes because you didn't show up when we planned, and I did show up, and it was a hassle, and I'm not gonna go through that again, because that would be a possibility if I showed up to meet you again. I didn't say all the thing in the last, but, you know, it's implied. And they're like, okay, fine. And I'm like, okay, we're done. We were not done. This hole goes on Facebook and reports me to Marketplace. And the only reason I realized this is because all of a sudden I can't post any ads. Like, I can't post any, like, I'm selling this and I'm selling that. And I'm like, what is this? First of all, I need to be able to sell things. Like, I need it to be able to afford my videos, and I need it, you know, for overall living expenses. And I'm like, what is going on? And I realized they reported me. And I was unable to post any ads for over a month. Because they didn't get their way, they reported me. So Marketplace spent a month to, like, go in and check, like, oh, were you actually a unprofessional seller? And then they go, oh, obviously she wasn't. And then they just restore my thing. And I'm like, this hole. Just because they didn't get their way. They're so entitled. It's just awful. Like, I'm just so happy when I find, like, 99% of the time it's nice people. It's just Like, you get this dread feeling in your stomach when you realize you have like oh no, it's one of those people again, oh no, it's one of the entitled people, oh no. Like, you try to do your best and you just hope that they're not gonna fuck you over like that person did. But yeah. The second story is titled, I Got a Live One Here, Community Property. I've lived in my place for about 3 years now. My only neighbor is an elderly woman who doesn't go out much, but we share a single private pathway to our front doors. I also happen to know the neighbor directly opposite us tends to check in on her fairly regularly. Added to that, I'm often carrying pretty heavy equipment in and out of my house. So last year, I took the decision to start gridding the path that my neighbor and I share. I checked with her first. I also asked the neighbor opposite, as she's elderly as well, if she would like me to grit her path too, to which she was very happy. I'm just so excited. These are very funny stories. Continuing. Reports are abound today of the first real freeze this winter. Duly checked with my neighbors and they said yes to some gritting. Great. Got some grit. Crack of dawn this morning, about 6 a.m., I threw some grit over the paths to beat the frost as I know I'm going to be home late. A woman and her dog approaches. Our lovely choosing beggar. She says, "Oh, are you gritting mine too?" I said, "No, I'm only doing mine and our opposite neighbor's path. As they are elderly, I don't have time to do everyone's." She looks disappointed. But at this point hasn't been rude yet. So as grit isn't expensive, I just said, "I'm leaving for work directly after this, but I'm happy to leave the grit outside just this once if you want to grit your path yourself." She then says, "That's not very neighborly. How am I supposed to grit it? You're stronger than me." Ignore the fact that I know the man she lives with is unemployed. I just said, "I don't have the time to do it now, but I'll leave it here if you want." I duly left the sack by my front door and said, "Take what you need and put the rest back here." I just heard from my neighbor. Apparently this real peach had her lazy-ass husband pick up the bag, dump the entirety of the remainder of it over their paths, and then walk back over to mine to post the empty bag through my letterbox. My neighbor went out to ask him what he thought he was doing, to which he said, "I don't give a love, but he better be around to clear up my path when the frost goes." Lesson in life, do not help strangers, ever, never. My first response should have been, "Go and yourself." And it will be, in the future. Wow, some neighbors are so rude. From personal experience, I've had some terrible neighbors too. Like, most of my neighbors are nice. In true Norwegian fashion, we don't talk to each other much, like we just mind our own business and it's like a mutual respect thing. But once you have a terrible neighbor, it's always the worst ones, isn't it? This comment below, though, is epic. This could be turned into an our petty revenge if you continue to put bag after bag of grit on their path. It'll be a mess come spring. Oh! Yes. That would teach them, wouldn't it? I quite like this. It's quite just desserts, isn't it? And here we are, the last story. This is a good one. Titled, "How Can You Leave Me Here?" This is quite an unusual one, but I think it fits here. I was at a punk rock music festival with a friend and two of her friends, one of whom was a choosy beggar. We have a great time, but it's the last day of the festival, so we have to decide how to get back the next day. We all come from different towns, but we can all transfer at one particular city, approximately 160 kilometers from where we are. Kilometers. Someone is in Europe with me. Choosy Beggar suggests dividing our group into pairs and hitchhiking. We all immediately tell her that we would feel unsafe, and that is out of the question. She was the only one in our group to have had ever hitchhiked. Luckily, it turns out that there's a direct train to the city. It's the fastest, safest, and the most comfortable way to get there. Even better, it's one of the cheap but fancy trains that will get us there in no time. Perfect. Not for Choosy Beggar. She starts complaining that it's too early in the morning. 8 a.m. if I remember correctly. She still insists on hitchhiking. We tell her that is not going to happen. That's when she throws a tantrum, crying that we are heartless to just leave her there. We disagree, obviously. Telling her that it's her who doesn't want to pick the best option, just because she would have to get up earlier than usual, we have to stop the discussion as the last concert me and my friend were waiting for is going to start. We are a bit late, but it's great. That rhymed. Okay. That's until ChoosingBeggar fakes fainting and my friend needs to take care of her until the end of the show. ChoosingBeggar starts using the sympathy card, still complaining about us leaving her there by herself while she's so weak. We are adamant in our decision. Later that day, we go to sleep, but she still insists that she's going to hitchhike by herself, still complaining about us leaving her. The following day, we wake her up at the ungodly 6:30. She tells us, with great dismay, that she is going to go by train with us since she's already up. She behaves as if there was never any discussion about her commute. Wow. Yeah. I get so freaked out when people are like, let's just do the dangerous option, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm a 5-foot-tall girl. I am not going to hitchhike. I don't care if we're two in a pair. Serial killers are skilled and I don't want to die. Also, there's like creepy people on the highway, and also like when it's like hitchhiking is so unusual nowadays that the only people who would pick you up are the weird ones. Like normal people are like, oh, hitchhikers, they're probably murderers. So like the only people who would pick you up is probably the weird people who wants to do something terrible. The festival thing though is pretty interesting. It made me think of a story that happened to me at a festival. Me and some friends went. It's a really long time ago. But as we were packing out our stuff and we had gotten to the place where we were going to set up our tent, all of a sudden one of the girls I was traveling with starts rummaging through my bag, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just taking some toilet paper. And I'm like, excuse me, that's my bag. Why are you taking my toilet paper? And she's like, there's no toilet paper there, and I didn't bring any. And I'm like, that doesn't mean you don't have to ask. Okay, you can't just go through my bag and help yourself to whatever you want. That's... who raised you? What the That was my rendition of reading ChoosingBeggars. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe and leave a like and, have a wonderful holiday. I find it particularly stressful, so, that's why I was a little behind today with my editing, so, yeah. But ChoosingBeggar it did become, so I hope it was entertaining. Bye, see you next time!